It's a scripture that when I first heard it and read it, I just said, "Oh boy, that's cold-blooded." I just couldn't wrap my mind around it. It didn't have any compassion in it. He that hath shall get, and he that hath not, even that he has, shall be taken away. Oh my God. You said, he that hath, the person who hath, they will get, and the person who don't have, even that little bit they have, shall be taken away. That doesn't seem right. But there's a question. He that hath what? Vision. People without vision perish. Ambition, drive, a willingness to work, stubbornness, perseverance, faith that roars so loudly it doesn't give you an opportunity to hear the doubts that you have within yourself. You have those qualities, you will get. You have those qualities, you restore everything you lost and more. You have those qualities, angels will make room for you. Come. Let's intervene here, because he won't quit, she won't stop. We've done everything and they won't stop. Come, we got to intervene now. And then let's go find a wimp, somebody who's stopped, somebody who's allowing themselves to be consumed by fear. They're weak. Yeah, because God has not given them a spirit of fear, but of power. They ain't got no power. They're consumed in fear. They can't even think straight. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of a sound mind. This place where you are, where I am, this place, we've been picked out to be picked on. This place, we are more than conquerors. This place is a testimony, no testimony. This place, no guts, no glory. This place, faith not tested can't be trusted. This faith will find a way. Yeah. We need to know that. We need to saturate ourselves with words that will empower us right now. Our children are watching. Our children are not okay. There's an article, Google it. Our kids are not okay. The suicide rate among children, teenagers, and younger is soaring because they're watching us. See, how we live our lives, Jim Rohn said this, how we live our lives, it can be a warning or an example. Did you hear me? How we live our lives, our children are watching. It will be a warning or an example. A warning of what not to do, or an example of what to do when tragedy and interruptions and crises show up. Therefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, that having done all to stand. This is our time to stand. This is our time to be actively engaged in this thing called life. Our children are watching us. There are generations yet unborn that are depending on us. There are people who gave their lives, like a John Lewis said, create some good trouble. It's our time. It's our time. You have something special. God is on your side. If God is for you, who can be against you? You got a winning team. I'm looking for, and I'm on a mission for people who can hear me. If at some point in time when you're a little kid or a grown person, you're going through some stuff and you heard my voice. And the reason you heard it, because what's in me is also in you. And the reason you responded and came out of the darkness into the light, because there's a calling on you to do the same thing. You and I are cut from the same cloth. You're branches of the same tree. If my message and my method and my approach resonates with you, I'm not talking about my hairstyle. My kid didn't play hairstyle and I'm kid, no. I'm talking about my message. And you have a message in you. You have a story in you. You like to help people, the millions of people who need to hear a multitude of voices. I want you to put voice in the comment section. Put voice in the comment section. And allow us to introduce you to the Power Voice system that teaches you how to tell your story, that teach you how to create an experience with your voice and your story, to transform people individually and collectively. Allow me to mentor, to coach you, to bring out the greatness in yourself and to bring out the greatness in others. If that's your calling, I love to tell you, and I will always remind you, a job is what you get paid for. A calling is what you're made for. If it's your calling, put voice in the comment section. If you can hear me in your heart, I'm not challenging your ability to hear with your ears, because you wouldn't still be here with me. I don't have any prints translating my words. So if you're still here, the only reason you're listening, because what's in me, it's in you. You and I are cut from the same cloth. We are branches of the same tree. It's time to make a decision. Put voice in the comment section. We don't know how much time we have left, do we? Michael Jackson said, "This is it." And it was. Okay. Put voice in the comment section. Live each day as it were your last. Because what we learned from the coronavirus, one day it will be. Toby Gatson, we graduated together at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami, 1963. Wow. Classmate had COVID-19 and he kicked COVID's butt. Toby, I'm so happy for you, brother. So happy. Prayed hard for you, but you've always been a fighter since we were in high school. Boy, I tell you, you and Larry Littles, who played for the Miami Dolphins, boy, we went to school. We would miss school because we were characters. We were always clowning. We always wanted to know, what will we do next? We came to see each other for cafeteria and physical education. Oh my goodness. Oh boy, that's back in the day. I hear young people today, these millennials, talking about back in the day. They don't know anything about back in the day. I got t-shirts older than them. But at 75, my goal is to finish strong. At 75, my goal is to train the best speakers on the planet. At 75, my goal is to find people who are hungry to make an impact with their lives, who are hungry to learn how to use and access their power voice, who are hungry to live a life that will outlive them. Yeah, you forget your years will forget you. And I want to leave this with you. As you look at your goals, be stubborn about your goals. Be stubborn. Don't give up on your goals. You will fail your way to success. Don't give up on your goal. Know your vitamin, as Suzanne de Pass would say. Don't give up on your goal. Be stubborn about your goals. Be flexible and versatile. Ask for help. A lot of people won't do that because of ego edging God out, because a lot of people, as a result of pride cometh before a fall. Ask for help. Not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. You don't have to figure it out. Get started. Do what you can with what you have. And God will do what you can.
One of the things I love that you just said is the whole idea of acceleration. That this is a season of acceleration. And I would love for each one of you to register right now to find out how you can accelerate your success and your prosperity. A lot of people have shifted themselves into neutral, Mr. Brown, and they're just coasting into the end of the year. But this is the time that you need to now put it in high gear and start moving towards your destiny, your purpose, putting as much energy as you possibly can in defining how you want 2023, 2024, 2025, and onward. You don't just have to have a most amazing year. You can have an amazing decade. You can have an amazing life. And you cannot do it by keeping your life in neutral. You've got to shift it in gear. And
I'm glad you mentioned that, because
to do that.
Yeah, part of shifting your life in another gear, a higher gear, you have to look at your relationships and ask the question, what are my relationships doing to me? Scripture asks the question, what fellowship does life have with darkness? None. Life is like an elevator, as you are aware. And the higher you go up, you have to stop and let some people off.
Yes,
and a lot of people are not going to finish their year strong and live the life they want to live because they have too many toxic, negative, energy draining family members and friends in their lives.
Low value and no value. I got to add that.
Absolutely, yes. And so you have to ask the question, what is this relationship doing to me? Am I growing mentally and emotionally and spiritually? There are people that are always there when they need you, but when you need them, you can't find them. And so when you begin to look at that, the studies indicate you earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. When I found that out, I got all the broke people out of my life. I said, y'all got to go. Woo!
You give yourself a going away party.
Yes.
You go with your balloons and your cake that says Bon Voyage. And they're going to say, oh, you didn't have to do it. No, I didn't do it for you. I'm doing it for myself. And I often say, could things be the way they are because you are the way you are? And what one thing can you change that can change everything? You could change your mind. Nothing about your life has to remain the same. You have full control over your destiny. Your future doesn't come from outside of you. It comes from inside of you. And, again, there's a saying that you can never outperform your current concept of self, nor can you rise above the level of your self-worth.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up, because in order to finish your year strong, one of the most important things we have to do is to address what you just mentioned. Many of us are blocking and preventing ourselves from moving forward and finishing the year strong because of things that we have experienced, because of things that we've gone through. And I want people listening to us right now to write this down. You might be through with your past, but your past is not through with you.
I've got two final questions for you. The first one is, what does real success mean to you?
Living a life as you, a life of service, and committing yourself to leave the world in better shape than how you found it, making your life a gift to the world. Next question, please.
Love it. And the final question is, what is something about Les Brown that we will not find on Google?
That I'm a big kid. I'm a big kid. I'm mischievous. And I have this mischievous part of myself that most people will never begin to measure. Let me give you an example. I saw this presentation I gave to Procter & Gamble, and I didn't have a PowerPoint presentation, and everybody there, they were all PhDs and MDs, and it was a $600,000 contract. And when I walked in the room, they said, "Mr. Brown, where's your PowerPoint presentation?" I said, "I am the PowerPoint." And they gasped. And I did my presentation. And before I left, the man who was conducting it said, "Mr. Brown, can you come back, sir?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I never thought I would see you again." He said, "My mother saw you in an airport." He said, "I was around 5 or 6 years old. And at that time, you were married to the singer Gladys Knight, who did the recording, Midnight Train to Georgia. And she was so glad to meet you, and she asked you for your autograph. And then you asked her, 'Who is this little man with you?' And she said, 'He's my son.' And you kneeled down and you got close to me and you said, 'Whoa, I see greatness in his eyes.' And you looked up at my mother and said, 'Oh, he's gonna make you proud. I see greatness in his eyes. Come closer.' 'Yes, it's there.' 'Oh, you're going to make your mother so proud.' And he said, it was not just that. When you stood up and walked away, and my mother was looking the other direction, talking to people, saying, 'That's Les Brown?' And she was saying, 'Yes.' She said, 'You looked at me and I was watching you, and you saw me watching you, and you wiggled your knees. You just shook your knees together.' And I said, 'Mama, look at him. Look what he's doing with his knees, like a little kid.' And she said, 'He didn't do that. And you were walking straight.' And he said, 'I'll never forget what you did. And like, you were a big kid. I can see your knees out. You did your knees.' And I did it again in a meeting. And he said, 'Oh my God, you got the contract.'" I mean, he remembered me doing my knees, shaking my knees together, making a gesture that kids would laugh at. He said, "You made me laugh that day. I'll never forget. And you made me feel special." One of the things I teach my speakers, who you are when you don't have the microphone, and how you treat people that most people don't consider important, says a lot about your character. That day was an unforgettable day for me. I'll never forget your kneeling down, looking me in the eyes. Let me show you where I got that from. When a group of people gathered to stone a prostitute, Jesus came upon them, and they said, "He kneeled down and looked her in the eyes." He didn't talk down to her. He kneeled down and looked her in the eye and said, "Go and sin no more." That said a lot to me. That he didn't look down on her because they said she was a prostitute. He kneeled down
to look her in the eyes, to recognize the divinity in her, and said, go and sin no more. So when I see children, rather than look down to them, I kneel down and have conversations with them, and they won't forget it. Because most people talk and don't even acknowledge that they're there.
Brown is in the house, the School of Greatness, my friend who has been around for 75 years young. You told me just before we got on here, you've been fighting cancer for 27 years. You've been widely known as one of the most inspirational, motivational speakers in the world, helping Fortune 500 companies to small business owners to everyone in between really tap into their greatness. You're an inspiration to myself and so many people. And you've got a book called You've Got to Be Hungry that's out right now that is doing incredibly well, and it's 20 years in the making. And I'm curious, we've been talking just before this, which we'll add in the interview, about racial injustice, which you've been a big proponent of speaking out against for many years, and your time working in Ohio, in government, and your time working in radio, as a speaker, as all these different areas of your life. But you've just been through a lot personally of challenges in your life from, we have a similar story of growing up dyslexic with learning disabilities, with challenges in school. I remember the story you shared in our last interview in 2017 about, teachers just calling you dumb and things like this. I feel very connected to that story because of my experiences in school. And yet you've overcome so many challenges in your 75 young years. Can you share the biggest challenge you've had to overcome?
The biggest challenge I had to overcome, and it's a continuous challenge, is allowing myself to see myself beyond my circumstances and mental conditioning, to live out of my imagination rather than my history. When you are raised in a culture that constantly demean you, marginalize you, and stifle your potential to move forward. I remember reading a quote by a guy named Richard Wright, who said, "The impulse to dream has been slowly beaten out of me through the experiences of life." So just imagine in 1963, when I graduated from high school, now that's a long time ago. my grandson said, "Grandpa, how old are you?" And I said, 75. He said, "You are old." In 1963, here's what the statistics were in 1963. That if you're an African American, you're the last hire and the first fire. If you're an African American, that a white college-trained Black person has less of a chance of getting a job than a white high school dropout. That's in 1963. Wow. According to the Federal Reserve, that still exists. So just imagine when an African American graduates from college and in debt, that a white high school dropout today will earn more money, 3 times more money than that Black college graduate. 3 times more, all right? Why? Because of his paint job. I'll never forget, Louis, I saw an interview with Larry King, and this white supremacist was being interviewed, and he said, "Tell me, why do you hate Black people?" He said, "Because they're Black." So, and he said, "And?" He said, "And I'm white." So Larry said, "What did you have to do with that?" And this white supremacist said, "What?" He said, "What did you have to do with your being born white?" And he didn't have an answer. He just got quiet. And Larry, in that question, that strategic question, it created an aha moment, hopefully, for that young man. I saw this video yesterday. This lady said, "I've got grandchildren. I hate y'all, and I'm teaching my grandchildren to hate you too."
Wow.
Yes, and I'll never forget when I was on a bus coming back from Miami Beach, with my mother, and they had signs on Miami Beach that said, Jews, dogs, and coloreds not allowed. And so I asked my mother, I said, Mama, why do they hate us so much? And she said, Leslie, I don't know, but don't you ever be like them. Don't you ever be like them. God is love, and he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in them. You love people regardless of how they treat you. That grabbed me, because when she could have very easily, because of experiences that she'd had, that taught me to be hateful, because hatred is taught. It's people not born with that. And a little boy asked me, a second grader, what do you mean by you gotta be hungry? I said, the greatness within to win. I said, when the average person start out in life, don't realize the odds are stacked against them. And you have got to call on everything in you to get ahead. I said, how old are you? He said, 7. I said, when I was 5 years old, I was downtown Miami, and it was like 95 degrees. And I ran to a water fountain. I was with my mother. The neighbor said, Mamie, we can watch the other 6, but you're gonna have to take Leslie with you because he's a little touched in the head. So they didn't want to keep me. So I let my mother's dress go. We went downtown with her. We would hold her dress because she would walk real fast. And I ran up to this water fountain, Louis, and I started drinking water from it. And my mother said, don't you ever do that again. And grabbed me by the neck. And I talk about this in the book. And she started punching me in the face and the head. And I was shocked. I said, Mama. She had this crazed look in her eyes. I said, it's me, it's me, Mama. And all of a sudden, a white police officer came by and he said, okay, he had a billy club in his hand. You can stop beating that little boy now. I won't have to beat him. And he looked at me as I was crying and just laughed.
Wow.
As he walked away. And my mother, she grabbed me and I was crying and she said, Leslie, I'm so sorry. But when I saw the redness in his face and how he had his billy club out and he was coming to beat you with it, she said, I had to do something to distract him. She said, because had he hit you with that billy club, he would have had to kill me.
Oh,
and
my
I'd
gosh.
left you and your brothers and sisters to fend for yourselves. You have no relatives. And at that moment, 5, I knew that there was 2 worlds. I was in a world where I was limited, where I could, what water fountain I could drink from. When we got on the bus, there would be seats up front, and there would be a yellow line, and there were standing room in the back where Black people were seated, and Mama would say, keep moving. I said, Mama, there are seats up here. Did you hear me say, keep moving, keep moving? So when you are in that kind of environment where you are judged based upon nothing other than the color of your skin, that's very humiliating. I had another experience that that really tilted the scale for me being the person that I am. And because I love my mother, I'm a mama's boy. I always say this is the Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. and so I was determined that I was going to create a world that my mother could live in and not be humiliated and to not be held back, and a better life than she had lived in Stuart, Florida. And what I experienced coming up in Miami, being African American, there were so many things. It was just a part of the culture, things that exist now. But to believe and understand that it's going on now, it's surprising. But what is heartwarming is the broad scale support. Something Benjamin Franklin said. He said, change will never come about until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are.
Wow.
Okay? And so you have white people who are unaffected by this, but they're outraged. They're saying, hey, this is not right. And they're putting themselves in harm's way. I saw one white lady, they shot her with rubber bullets and she lost the eye. She's permanently blind in one eye. And so there have been places where the white turnout and other groups are very strong, of people out of a sense of humanity saying this is not America. And it's been sustained because the people can see it. And to see George Floyd have his life taken away. The guy who did that, one of the guys who was in right there near him, where he could have said to the cop that was on George Floyd, come on, man, come on. He said he can't breathe. Come on, it's four of us. He's handcuffed. He can't get away from us. Come on, get your knee off his neck. He didn't do this. So this lady saw one of the guys in the grocery store who was charged with complicity. And she said, do you have any regrets? He said, no.
Wow.
No. So therefore, he thought it was okay to take this guy's life for a $20 counterfeit bill that they found not to be counterfeit. So to lose your life and someone say, when you are asked, do you have any regrets? And you say, no. Man, let me tell you something, that's heavy. That says a lot.
Yeah. Do you feel like we haven't really progressed that much at all? Or is there progress?
No, I think there's been great progress. There's no question about that. No question. You just have people who, this is for the first time under this leadership that we have, that feel comfortable coming out. So there are people that this level of hatred has been instilled and passed on generation after generation after generation. What makes it seem so pervasive and so dominant has been the exposure. It's never been exposed like this. The internet, that's why North Korea and various dictatorships don't allow media to have the right to expose things, the inequities and the unlawful behavior in their country, including our country. Had it not been for the internet, we would not know about this, because the television executives had a meeting after the Rodney King riots and say, when something like this happens again, we will not show it. Wow. We will just report it. Okay, but the internet, because of the telephones, now these cops have been getting away with murder. They can't just get away with it. Although even when they go to court, 93.9% get off, never go to court. And of those who are indicted, maybe around 2% are sentenced and found guilty, because the judge and the prosecuting attorney is on the side of that officer. So
well, I feel like they can always make a case, I guess, for, well, he was attacking me and this is in the law on how we can defend ourselves as police, right?
When they asked the cops, why did you beat this guy that I said, this man served our country in Vietnam. He should not be treated like that. He was holding a baby. And they said he was fighting with one hand. And okay, come on. When I was on the air, and this is in the 80s, I editorialized against police brutality and deadly use of force. They said he had a threatening stance, so I shot him. One guy I'll never forget, he was in a car and police approached the car and they shot him 5 times. And they said he held his hand up, even though he didn't see a gun, but he moved his finger and he thought that he had a gun, and so they killed him and they got off with it. So they come up with any type of flimsy excuse. I thought my life was in danger, like the guy here in Atlanta was shot 5 times in the back, and they said they thought he was going to turn around and shoot with a taser. And the truth of the matter is that cop was mad because his taser was taken away from him. So he pumped 5 bullets in him. He said, no, there will not be a trial here. This is taking place now. And so that level of madness and lack of value for human life, it's deep in the culture, but
how did you personally overcome so much from racism as a young child when your mother essentially had to beat the crap out of you in order to defend you from the police beating you up even more, to not being able to sit anywhere on the bus that you wanted to go on, to just having the challenges in school, to your career? How did you personally learn the skills to overcome so many challenges in the world, in your internal mind and world, and in life?
The title of the book, You've Got to Be Hungry, the greatness within to win. Greatness comes out of adversity. And the defining moment for me was when my mother was working for a lady named Miss Harris. I was responsible for cleaning some spots off the floor. My mother was called by Miss Harris. She said, Mamie, I want you to go in another room and find a hat that I'm looking for, the one I had 3 Sundays ago. And when my mother went in that room, I heard a slapping sound. I heard my mother clapping her hands. And I said, Mama, I was curious. I said, why are you clapping your hands? She said, don't you worry, Leslie. You just keep on doing what you're doing and get those spots up off the floor. Then she came out of the room and she said, Miss Harris, I don't see it in there. So she said, well, go in this other room. And Mama went in the other room, and sure enough, she started clapping her hands again. And I said, Mama. She said, what? She was aggravated now. I said, why are you clapping your hands? She said, didn't I tell you to do what you're supposed to do? But at that moment, Miss Harris came over and she stood over me. She said, I can tell you why she's clapping her hands. And I stood up and I looked in the eyes. Now, during this time, as a Black person, you were not allowed to look white people in the eyes. You should always look down, okay? Or you could be arrested or beaten. So I looked her in the eyes, and she said, the reason that I have your mother clapping her hands, when I have colored people working for me and I can't see them when they go in another room, I make them clap their hands to make sure they're not stealing.
Oh my goodness.
I said, ma'am, I said, Miss Harris, let me tell you something. My mother does not steal. When she talk about you and your family, she say, I work for Miss Harris, and she talk about our children, and she knows all your children's names and their birthday. My mother is an honest person. She'll never steal from you or anybody. And she was so shocked. She just looked at me and she just turned and walked out of the room. And when I got back down on that floor, Lewis, and started scrubbing that floor, I said, nobody will never make my mother clap her hands again because they think that she's will be stealing. I remember going back on the bus and I was quiet, and she said, Leslie, why are you so quiet? I said, because I'm not a man. I want to be a man. She said, you'll be a man soon enough. You're 10 years old. How long before I become a man? 8 years. I want to become a man now. She said, why? I said, if I was a man now, Mama, I can buy groceries for us. Listen, Mama, and we won't have to wait till the people you work for eat and then give us leftovers. If I was a man now, I would not have to wait until somebody's worn clothes for a year and we wear their hand-me-down clothes. And if I was a man now, nobody will ever make you clap your hands because they think that you're stealing. She said, Miss Harris told you that, didn't she? I said, yes, ma'am. That's why I want to be a man now. And she just got quiet. She said, Leslie, don't worry about it. Just be a good boy. Be a good boy. And I said, I will, Mama. I'm going to take care of you. You'll never have to work again when I turn 18. When I turned 18, I took care of my mother until she passed at 89. She never paid another bill. I worked. Yeah, that tilt the scales.
That experience, that moment.
Yes, that to make her, she was such a wonderful person, only had a third grade education. And I always say I'm on programs, I said, because of two women. One gave me life, the other one gave me love. God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. So she was quite a woman. Yes, she was. I'm a mama's boy, as you can detect. Here it is. Stop knocking on an open door. You have the power. You, your voice, you, your experiences, you, your knowledge, you, the things that you have gone through. Some things happen to you and some things happen for you. You're a gold mine. Coming out of this place where we are, will be millionaires, billionaires, and witnesses. And those of you that listen to me, you're going to be a millionaire or a billionaire, but you won't be a witness. You won't just be standing around saying, I wonder what happened. No. Watch as well as pray. I like what Mary McLeod Bethune says. She said, pray as if everything depends upon God, but work as if everything depends upon you. If you're ready to, yes, if you believe that there's more in you, if you knew how to get it out, you'd have gotten it out. Come on, let's be real. Why'd you hire Mike Williams? Because I'd gone as far as I could go with the thinking and the approach that I had used. That's why I said the thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve. And most people won't give it up. They won't say, you know what? I don't know everything. The majority of people think they know everything, that everything they know right now is all that they will know. The majority of people buy a book and don't read past the first chapter. Let me tell you something. February 17th, I still read. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I got children, I got grandchildren, and I have 5 great-grandsons, one called King 7. Oh yeah, Valentino, he was born February the 7th, just a couple of days ago. He's a bad little dude. He's coming for you. Oh yes, he smiles at his daddy, Patrick. He's coming for you. He just looks so lovingly at his daddy. I can't wait to hold him. I can't hold him now. I can just look at him on Zoom. This is not right. This is just too much. I can't hold my great grandson because I don't want to put his life in danger, or his mother's, my granddaughter, or my son. This is different. This is so different. That's why we need to have things for our mind, have strategies for our mind. I'm encouraging you to go online and Google Les Brown speaking in the Georgia Dome and watch that speech on a regular basis. And Les Brown speaking It's Possible, and Les Brown and Miles Monroe. Watch those and listen to those on a regular basis and getting unstuck. Stuff power for your mind. And for those of you that want to use the computer to bring your personality out, because you have the opportunity now. It's a level playing field. Everybody's got to do it from here. Everybody, you can order food. You don't have to leave your house. You can just pick up a phone. Instacart, I think they call that thing. They'll deliver it to your door. You just wait till they leave. And then you get your Lysol to go out and spray it and drag it in the house. This is a different place. Now, some people don't cope. They don't care. They go out. I ain't going nowhere. No, not at all. No. I'm fine right here. Oh boy. If you're ready to be coached, if you are ready to be stretched by me, if you want to be a world-class entrepreneur and business person. This is the new platform. Everybody's got to operate from here. Everybody. You want to invest in yourself. That's what I did. You want to develop your personality so you can get through there. It's not enough just to share information. You put me up against anybody. They can have PhD, MBA, or CB. CB stands for cornbread. That's me. You give them a computer and give me what? And let us go head to head. I'll get the butter from the duck. It's a level playing field. This is a golden age right now. Incredible opportunity for people who invest in themselves and get the coaching they need to bring out their personality, their passion, their energy, and how to monetize their knowledge and their skills. When a team have a losing season, they don't fire the players. You know what they do? They get a winning coach. They get a coach who wins. That's what they get. You want to be the best, you want to be coached by the best. I don't say this to impress you, but to impress upon you. Coaching matters. It matters. And so when you are serious and want a competitive edge and you want to win, I'm looking for people who are hungry to win. That's how I got here. I was hungry to win. I didn't care about your PhD or MBA. I was hungry to win, to control my own personal economy, to control my life, to take care of my mother, to buy my mother a home. I was hungry to do something that's me. It's me. I got tired of being fired. I'm not mentally fit to work for somebody for the rest of my life. There's some people that are. I remember a guy that I hired as my consultant. I'll never forget when I went to the city where I went to see him and spent a whole day with him, and he looked at me with amazement. And his wife said, when I left that day, he stopped me at the door and he said, "Thank you for turning to me as a consultant to train you how to speak and address corporations." He said, "But you know something, Les?" I said, "No, I wouldn't hire you." I said, "Why? I have an MBA. You think if it were in fact possible to speak to corporations around the world, I got an MBA, you think I would be working on this job where I'm working 65 to 70 hours a week? You think I don't have anything else to do with my time?" He said, "I'm just telling you, I got to check. I'm just telling you, you're wasting your time. They're not going to hire you." I said, "Thank you." He said, "You ought to give this up, man, and try and find a job in another city as a disc jockey." I said, "Man, that's behind me. I'm not looking back. I want to do something different with my life." And Mike Williams is with me. And his wife said, the two of them went to the window, looking out the window as I was getting in my car. And she asked him, "Do you think he's going to listen to you and give up this crazy idea of speaking to corporations and speaking around the world, even though he doesn't have an MBA like you, or any college at all, or any corporate experience?" And he said, to his credit, he said, "No." And she was stunned. She said, "Why? I thought you were very convincing. Why? He believes in you and what you say." And he said, he doesn't know enough to know that he can't do it. And so he's going to go forward. He's going for it anyhow. See, sometimes you've got to be intelligently ignorant. You don't know what you can't do. According to the laws of aerodynamics, a bumblebee isn't supposed to fly.
because this large body cannot be held up by its little puny wings. But the bumblebee doesn't know it. Sometimes you've got to be intelligently ignorant. Lean not unto thine own understanding. There's some things that does not fit within the realm of logic and reasoning and being practical. That's why we're taught to judge not according to appearances. You got greatness in you. Don't you judge yourself based upon your failures, based upon your past, based upon the stuff you've gone through. No! Greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. No! You were born to do good stuff. No! You are more than a conqueror. And if life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because you can look up, you can get up. If you're ready to get back up and control your own economy, if you're ready to get back up and control your own life and be your own boss, and let me show you how to do that. I can hook you up. Oh, he's on fire. Oh, behave. Whatever. Better must come. As Althea Grant said, I want you to say that to yourself. You're going through some stuff right now? I want you to say, better must come, in a voice of defiance. She was under her aunt's bed, and her aunt treated her like dirt. Her mother dropped her off and then let her know, I'm leaving the country, and left her with an aunt that treated her like nothing. And she heard a song called Better Must Come, and that was the mantra that kept her from losing her mind. Sometimes we need something that we can hold on to, something in spite of our situation, something in spite of the abuse, something in spite of the cruelty, something in spite of the hopeless situation that we find ourselves in, that we can hang on to and say, better must come. Better must come.